What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for another week of UFC action. And we have UFC Vegas 71 on deck. This time it's not at the Apex, but still in Las Vegas. We've got a fun card. Back up to 14 fights now with a late notice addition of Jared Gooden coming back into the UFC, taking on Carlston Harris. So that'll be fun. We'll talk about that. I did not have that in my full card breakdown, so I'll dive into it with my guest. An awesome bantamweight main event with Dvalishvili challenging the former champion at bantamweight in Peter Yan. So it'll be a really fun matchup, all said and done. We do have that rescheduled matchup with Ryan Spann and Nikita Krylov that fell off mid-event a couple weeks ago. So I'm excited to dive into this with somebody I've been meaning to do a show with for a while, and that is Monk, a.k.a. the Monkmatician, a.k.a. MonkMMAtics is his YouTube channel. He is part of that four-man team at the MMA Engine. And you've seen all of those guys now grace my channel and spend time with me here. So now Monk will be last but not least to join us. Very good DFS content, DraftKings lineups, advice, and things like that. And it's stuff that I generally had no idea what he was talking about, and I still don't for the majority of it, but I've been dabbling with these DraftKings lineups now. And maybe Monk could help, a beginner like myself make some money when my bets go south. Maybe some of these guys will rack up points on the DraftKings side of things. So without further ado, here is my guy, Monk himself. How you doing, my brother?
Fantastic. Great to finally be here. Round out the MMA Engine on your channel. Like
absolutely. I got all of you guys in here now. Great.
Exactly. As a collector, a completionist myself, now you can put the MMA Engine in your slot. No, I'm looking forward to this one. Looking forward to this card. Like you said, the addition of Jared Gooden makes things interesting, especially for DFS. But looking to break it down from a few different angles for sure.
Now, is that guy in the DFS side of things? When do those drop, by the way? Because I'll poke around. I'll do my research like the week before. There's no DraftKings stuff. I'll even do a breakdown on Sunday. There's no DraftKings stuff. And then like Monday or Tuesday, they magically all start appearing.
Usually on Monday, they'll do it. Probably on the pay-per-view, you might see it on Saturday night or Sunday. They've been doing that recently, which is good for us content guys. We can get it out early. So usually Sunday or Monday, usually.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have so many just 5-year-old beginner questions for you with how to do the DraftKings stuff, just because I've only done it a couple of weeks. And as I told you before, the first week I did it, I had Nikita Krylov in a bunch of them and spent money on that. And, why did you win $1 million? What happened to my sixth guy here? Where'd he go?
Yeah, well, now your first lesson is the rule of late swap. Late swap is terrible. We don't allow it for a reason. But it does suck when things like this happen, which is few and far between. But you're kind of SOL if you had that fight, and that's a very popular fight, and it will be again this week. So people are going to be going for that one again twice in a row. We'll see if Krylov can keep his diet proper.
Yeah. But otherwise, besides the MMA Engine, where can people find your content, and what do you got going on throughout the week?
You can find me on the MonkMMAtics channel on YouTube. I drop my game theory video where I go over each and every fight. I think this week I put out about a 40-minute video. We do picks at the end. Other than that, Pub Sports Radio on Wednesdays. I'm on the Kill Shot with DFS Army guys Wednesday afternoons. That one is actually probably out right now. Monk and Lou's Happy Hour on Friday to round out the week. And that's about it, man. Just kind of all over the place. But yeah, mostly on the MonkMMAtics channel. MonkMMAtics on Twitter, spelled just like it is right below.
Yeah, I got your links down in the description. Be sure to give my guy a subscribe over there. And the MMA Engine as well. If you don't live under a rock, you don't know who they are. Great team of guys over there doing all sorts of content. And we got some people in the live chat here. Mushroom MMA. Go check out his YouTube channel as well. My guy, Bobby Glansman. Got to watch another live fight companion with my guy, Mushroom. That was fun doing that last pay-per-view. Our guy, LouBetya, the second half of the happy hour with Monk in the house. This is a fun team. Got my girl Jenna Marie in the chat, the certified gem of MMA Twitter, joining us. Very good to see you. Daz Files in here as well. And LouBetya saying that the DK salaries come out when Monk allows it. Is that true?
I wish. I definitely wouldn't allow a $9,700 salary, but that's what we've got this week. The salaries work like it's directly correlated with the odds. So whoever's the biggest, whoever's the widest odds has the highest salary. So this week, I believe it's Bautista at minus a million favorite. And so he's like the highest possible salary on DraftKings.
Now, would I be wise to like have just like a lottery ticket thing where I've got like, maybe 5 people I think are going to score, and then I just throw in like Guido Cannetti in there? Is that how I pull the fast
you
one.
could
Every now and then.
you could, but you got to find balance there. You can't, if you're playing 9,700. I mean, it's going to be impossible to get to a lot of the other guys. You're going to be playing a ton of underdogs, and you just hope to pick the right ones. If you pick the right underdogs, you have no problem at all.
Yeah, and speaking of underdogs, there's a lot of really iffy fights in this card. All 14, we're going to start getting into these with the quickness here. But yeah, I got a lot of bets on this card. I actually have 7 money line bets. This is one of those weeks where the odds are playable. Like, you don't have to invest a lot to like get even money back. And I'm just going to throw darts, and I like the sides that I've picked. So hopefully I come out just have the majority of the action go my way. And yeah, LouBetya, we're going to get to this fight now. On the prelim, we've got short notice replacement Jared Gooden at welterweight filling in for Abubakar Nurmagomedov, who is going to take on Carlston Harris. But now we've got Harris versus Gooden. And Gooden went, I think, 1-3 in the UFC before he was cut back in 2021 after losing to Randy Brown. And Jared Gooden, I didn't realize this, but he's only 29 years old even at this point. So very odd that he seemed to like be washed up or just like a broken prospect so early. He's now gone 4-1 outside the UFC, and not the best competition, but there's like some guys that we've seen cross paths with the UFC fighters, guys like Aaron Highbow, Curtis Millender, who's in the UFC. He beat both of them, but he also lost to Impa Kasanganay, who knocked him out in round 1. So Jared Gooden seems to be like that loose counter striker, keeps the hands down, uses the head movement, tries to bait people in with feints and look for like the 3-2 combination and knock him out, which he did in his one successful UFC fight against Nicholas Stolze, who went 0-3 himself. So not a whole lot to like from Jared Gooden, in my opinion. You can hold him against the cage. You can take him down. You can outstrike him, pot shot him. And Carlston Harris should have all the tools to do that. So good grappler in Harris. I think he can get the control time and probably end up just knocking out Jared Gooden, because Harris, he can get into firefights himself too. He's comfortable there. So it'll give Gooden the upset opportunity early. But as this goes on, I think we're going to get like a pretty early finish from Harris. So how do you like this from a betting perspective? How do you like this from like a DraftKings perspective? What are the salaries on these guys even? I know we got right now preliminary odds is -300 Carlston Harris, plus 250 for Jared Gooden. That's about how I would line it myself personally.
Well, then that is fantastic news for us DraftKings guys, because when stuff like this happens, Harris versus Nurmagomedov was already booked. It was already salaried on DraftKings. Harris was $8,300. Without going into 8,200 and 8,000 is the closest lined fight. Then it goes 8,370 and it goes up from there. So this is a very closely lined fight. 8,300 and 7,900. Now all of a sudden Harris has a new opponent. They do not change the salaries. They will change Gooden's salary. He won't be 7,900. He'll be much lower. But Harris is already listed at 83, so they will not change that. And now all of a sudden we got a guy at 83 who's now a -300 favorite. He should be more like $9,000 at this point. My guy Lou is absolutely right. Harris is a must play as far as DraftKings. You're getting tremendous value. He scores very well in DraftKings, and you're getting him at a cheap price. The other thing I will mention is since 2021, I've been tracking this. Anytime a replacement fighter fights, their win rate is only 37%. Their opponents are at 60%. That is a huge number for me. I always look to fade certain replacement fighters, and unfortunately for Jared Gooden this week, it's going to be him. I probably won't be rostering too much of him as far as DraftKings goes. I don't know what kind of bet I would want to look for as far as Gooden. Maybe I'd like to see what a Gooden, flash knockout line would be, round 1 KO for a small little prop.
That's his path. That's really
exactly. But other than that, I like Harris. Probably, I'd have to look for betting if it's decision or inside the distance. I'd like to see what that is. But I'm with you. I think Harris finishes inside the distance here, and I think you got to play him on DraftKings. He could score very well for his low salary.
Okay, I definitely wrote that down. Now, that's going to be for just prediction-wise for Harris. It's going to be split, of course, between knockout and submission. The guy does have potential for both.
Yep.
I would actually probably favor a knockout for Harris just because, Jared Gooden is not going to shoot in on him the way that we saw Christian Aguilera do to get caught up in that anaconda. He's just going to try to, outbox him, with his hands down, the way that he knows how to strike. And Impa Kasanganay, I just said 2 fights ago outside the UFC, knocked him out pretty easily in round 1 that way. So I could certainly see Carlston Harris get into a firefight with him. The way that Carlston Harris actually knocked out Impa Kasanganay a couple fights ago. So, yeah, I like Harris a lot. I think his skill set is good, and we haven't seen it shine through just yet because he had to take on Shavkat Rakhmonov last time, which is a very tough test for anybody. So, my guy MMA Cheese is in the house. What's up, Dev? How you doing, brother? Good to see you in here. But yeah, it's a good tidbit there, especially with the short notice replacement fighters. They never seem to do that well. I mean, it's very difficult unless it's some like high profile, a guy off the Contender Series waiting in the wings for a shot. It doesn't usually go that well. But that brings us up to our next spot here at bantamweight. We got we don't. We got Tyson Nam taking on Bruno Silva at flyweight, and it has been a bit since we saw Tyson Nam. It's been since last August when he destroyed a bet of mine I had against him because I don't think very highly of Tyson Nam. Honestly, I know he's very one-dimensional, a lot of experience, but he's getting up there in age at 39, and he's primarily just like a durable boxer with a lot of power for flyweight. So unless you throw a perfect flying knee, miss by a mile, and get knocked out the way Ode Osborne did, you can usually outwork this guy and outpoint him. Even Matt Schnell, who's like the chinniest of chins at flyweight, took him to a decision and beat him there. So I think Bruno Silva should be able to even come back after this layoff and outpoint him, probably employ some wrestling as well. How do you like this matchup, and are you attacking this anyways betting wise?
I like this one a lot for Bruno Silva. I mean, he has been gone almost 2 years, but I really am not going to account for that too much. I don't really account for ring rust a lot. It just depends on the fighter, in all honesty. And I think going up against a 40-year-old Tyson Nam, who came off of a huge layoff himself, I believe. Actually, that's not true. I'm just saying things now. That's not. No, he did. It was almost over a year and a half between Schnell
like a full
and Osborne
surgery.
Oh, okay. So there it was. Yeah. So that's another thing. I mean, he's 40 years old. Like you said, he caught Ode Osborne. I'm not expecting that to happen here. I like Bruno Silva. His only wins in the UFC are to JP Bays and Victor Rodriguez. So that does leave something to be desired. But Tyson Nam's only wins are against Adeshev, Rivera, and Osborne is a decent win, in my opinion. But Silva, his losses are like Ulanbekov and Dvorak. Those aren't too terrible. I like Bruno Silva. When he does win, he's made what we call the optimal lineup. It's comprised of the 6 highest scoring fighters under at $50,000 or less as far as salary. That's like the best lineup you could possibly play for DraftKings. Bruno Silva has found himself on that lineup in both of his past 2 fights. So that's what we look for. That's what I look for specifically. 100% optimal rate is something I'm definitely looking for. He scores 130 per win, which, I mean, all this is correlated to performance as well. You get points for striking, knockdowns, takedowns, reversals, etc. Control time.
Wait, without doing the math, not to cut you up, but without doing the math on those rules. So are you looking for a finisher? Like if he finishes well in round 1,
it depends.
Would that be better than a guy who's like smothering top pressure over the course of like a couple rounds?
And that's what you have to look. That's what you have to try to figure out, because first minute wins almost always land you. They get these huge bonuses, but after that, you could do almost nothing in the first round. You could knock your guy out with a third punch in the second minute and not score anywhere near what you would need to make the optimal lineup. Like you have to get volume in. We look for takedowns. I look for takedowns. I look for guys with lots of power that can land knockdowns as well, because you get very good scores for that. But I'd almost prefer
this reminds me of, Monk? This reminds me of like that fighter performance rating in PFL.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Where you score like a certain amount of points.
That's pretty much what it is. They just assign points as far as their fight metrics go, and then if you get a finish, they just make it easy and give you 100 or a nod or something like that.
You prefer the guy just doing steady work over the course.
I think, I like work, or like a guy we're going to talk about in the main event. Guys like that are absolute workhorse. Those are our DraftKings darlings. Bruno Silva is more of a guy that can land volume on you early and then finish you. We also like to see that. So lots of early volume, with a finish, you knock a guy down, he manages to get up, you knock him down again, and you finish the fight. That's like picture perfect. So that's what I could see happening here with the Bruno Silva fight. So I like Silva over Nam.
It is a little bit annoying. Like I do have a bet on Silva. I got it at minus 155. So before it went a little bit crazier to where it's at now, I still like the money line at minus 200, to be honest with you, just because of how one-dimensional Tyson Nam is.
Yep.
But there are those questions of Bruno Silva where it's like, you hate to see the guys where it's like they fought and lost close competitive bouts to like high level guys. But then, like you said, he beat JP Bays and Martinez, which are like two guys that's like who you knock out on the way to your actual fight.
Exactly, you have to beat.
That's like who you should be knocking out backstage before you warm up to go out to the actual fight.
Yeah, those are not good names.
So it leaves a big gap. But as long as he doesn't do something stupid like Ode Osborne, I think he should be good in this spot.
Exactly. I completely agree. I like that look. I think minus 200 is still good on that side. I mean, you're getting value as well because how Nam finished in his last fight. I don't see that happening twice in a row.
Mushroom liking the Silva decision. We got our guy. What's up, Ryan Jordan? How you doing? Just hopping in the live stream. Subscribe to Monk. Yeah, Monk is the man, dude. I'm so glad he's joining us here. This is awesome. We'll have to have him on more often. Maybe get a freaky 3-way or a 4-way.
Oh, there we go.
Some of the guys from the MMA Engine. Just make my own. Bring them all over on a field trip to my channel.
Yeah.
But so that's a fun one. I think I put 1.55 units to win one on that at that money line. So just paying the price on Silva to win 1 unit. Nothing too crazy. Getting overexposed, but a bantamweight bout up next between Tony Gravely and Victor Henry. This is a fun one, man. And as far as workhorses go, I think Victor Henry would be your guy for that. Interested to hear your perspective on because his money line's not that big either, right? You know, he's it's a pretty closely lined fight here. Tony Gravely looking to get the control time with the wrestling. Victor Henry pretty good defensively as well with the takedown defense. And I just think that there's a bigger gap between the striking of Victor Henry just being more complete than that of Gravely than there is like the wrestling over that of Victor Henry. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's a bigger advantage there for Henry. So another money line bet. I took a stab on Victor Henry. I like that money line, and I think he does cruise to a decision win here. You know, I'm not sure about his finishing potential in this matchup. It depends on how much Gravely slows down. But I mean, as far as like points on the board, that was a crazy fight that Henry had against Tony Barcelos about a year ago on his short notice debut. Which is weird for Henry, right? Because he made a short notice debut as a huge underdog, got that big upset over Tony Barcelos, comes in as a huge favorite over Assuncao, and then drops the ball. So now he's back at a pretty even money line. So what do you make of this fight in general? Do you like the takedown side of things for Gravely? Do you think he can stall out Henry and control him in this one?
I do. Gravely is another DraftKings darling this week. I don't know. I mean, I just like it for DraftKings. As far as betting, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Henry because, like you said, he was plus 379, then he minus 423. So just this huge overreaction, and then a lack of performance from Henry there. So I would like to see what happens with this one. I think there probably is value on it depending on the number, but the line's not too wide. And as far as DraftKings goes, we're getting Gravely at an underdog price. He scores, tremendously. As far as points per minute, he's right up there with Merab. His strength of schedule over his last 5, I put that together much like the BCS used to do for the NCAA, based on their last 5 and then their last 5 opponents. It's much better for Gravely than it is for Henry. Especially with that Javid Basharat in there. He's got a fantastic record and has fought some decent guys. Same with Nate Maness, who he did finish Gravely in the second round. But overall for DraftKings, I think this is a great spot for Gravely. I'll have him in a ton of lineups. Henry, probably not so much just because I don't know what he's going to do. I wouldn't put a bet on it necessarily, depending on the number, just because, like I said, I don't know how he's going to perform. I think I need to see one more fight, and I think this is the fight I need to see against a big-time grappler, see how he can handle the grappling side of things, because I think you're right. As far as striking goes, while Gravely has put 4 guys down, or 4 times he's put people down, he's got 4 knockdowns in the UFC. I think the overall striking is just better for Henry. He lands, almost 8 strikes a minute so far in the UFC, which is an incredible number, even when you fight Assuncao, because Assuncao doesn't allow anything. Those are low volume affairs against Assuncao, and he's still at almost 8 strikes a minute. So I think the striking's there for Henry. The grappling hopefully will be there for my DraftKings play, Gravely. But I'm just going to wait it out on Henry to see what we get.
It's especially that fight against Nate Maness that was the one for me.
Yeah.
Rewatching that with Tony Gravely and seeing what happens when he can't get the job done, can't finish you with his power strike in round 1. He almost did. Maness definitely got saved by the bell there. He was out in between rounds. He had to shake off the cobwebs, be reminded who he was, but he came back out.
Did.
And then he was shrugging off the takedown attempts of Gravely, and Gravely had no answer to that. He's like, all right, I couldn't knock this guy down and put him away. I can't get the takedowns. Then he just got boxed up. So I think of Victor Henry. The problem with Victor Henry against the Assuncao is he played right into Assuncao's game, which is standing in the pocket and trying to out counter strike him, which you're not going to do. And
not against Assuncao.
No, it just didn't go well, And Raoni Barcelos, instead of wrestling the majority of it, like he tried to start wrestling late when he was kind of gassed out and ate so much damage. But Raoni Barcelos just chose to get in a firefight with a guy that he was not prepared to, finish that. Kind of brought a knife to a gunfight in that one, which was shocking to see.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know. I think no shame in passing on this one, just learning more about exactly where Henry falls skill-wise. But I think especially the cardio edge should get him the win here. So at minus 140 or I think minus 139, I got him at. Like it's not.
That's not bad.
I'm willing to wager that on Victor Henry, who I've seen have an impressive work rate over 3 rounds. So that's interesting, though, that Tony Gravely's up there for you. I like that tidbit there because that's one of those spots where it's like maybe if I get into DraftKings and just get some more degenerate action on that side, like it can back up like the opposite side of where I'm betting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You start to look at it from a different kind of angle.
Yeah, my guy lost, but at least I can consolation prizes. Maybe Gravely getting a ton of takedowns, a ton of points on DraftKings.
Just be careful. If you ever played fantasy football, you find yourself rooting against your own team occasionally. That's where it gets a bit tricky.
Yeah, good thing my only sport is mixed martial arts and combat sports. It's all I follow, and it's all of my favorites have like a string of 10 knockout losses and they're long since retired. So now I can kind of just watch the sport peacefully.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like Vitor's long since retired, although he is coming to the Midwest and he's boxing Jacare Souza.
That's right.
Yeah, so we get to see he's been tearing it up in boxing, man. So. No, I just got to get my other guy. I got to get BJ Penn back in there. George Masvidal needs to sign that guy to Game Bread and
give him some more brain damage.
Yeah, have him fight. I don't know. You ever see that footage of BJ Penn years ago where he bulked up to like 190 for a catch weight? Yeah, we need that version.
Look BJ like Penn. The same person.
Yeah, just a big, giant, swollen up guy. What's going on, Easy? Good to see you.
Oh, nice.
Saying, what's
Easy
up, fellas?
In the chat.
And that Vitor fight is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I might.
My neck of the woods.
Yeah, I think it's Wait a second. Is that not, like soon? When was that? I was looking at tickets.
I thought so. Isn't that the Roy Jones?
Yes. Yeah.
Fight. It's probably coming up.
Either in a month or it's like about to happen. Let's see where this is at.
Yeah, I
almost bought tickets to it. And I was like, I think I either had something going on or April 1st. All right. Yeah, that's coming up. Quickly.
April Fool's Day card, indeed.
Yeah, I was like, is this a joke? Am I just going to show up and there's nothing there? Like, you're not going to get to see Vitor again, you idiot.
Right.
All right.
You actually thought Pettis was going to fight Roy Jones Jr.?
Right.
Dumb.
It does seem like that. But speaking of dumb fights, up next, we got JJ Aldrich, just like a minus 400 favor. That's pretty dumb. That should be an April Fool's Day line, taking on Ariane Lipski. So, women's flyweight bout. I do like the matchup overall. Like JJ Aldrich is fun to watch. Lipski's fun to watch. Whether she wins or loses, she's exciting in some aspects, just because you don't know what the hell is going to happen. Like, is she going to counter strike effectively and hurt her opponent, or will she end up on the ground curled up in a ball and folding under the TKO pressure? I was very proud that I bet on Cachoeira last time against her. I bet on the KO prop. They pulled the bout because Lipski couldn't make weight, so they rebooked it a couple weeks later at bantamweight. I rebet it again at a better line and got that knockout in like a minute. It was easy work back at UFC San Diego. I'm kind of thinking about maybe pulling the trigger on JJ Aldrich inside the distance here if there's a juicy number on it, but I'm taking Aldrich, but that money line, man, I saw that last weekend at like minus 200, minus 220. Now it's all up to minus 400 in a lot of books. I think that's pretty outrageous. A lot could go wrong here, but I do think Aldrich should be able to dominate in all areas, especially if she wrestles. So what do you see in this matchup? Are you playing this from any sort of angle? Do you have any strong leans on this one?
It would be dog or pass for me. Absolute. I mean,
yeah.
As far as DraftKings go, Aldrich is untouchable. I'd be focused on Lipski if you made me play somebody, but we just had a women's flyweight win at $6,800, which is Lipski's salary, and her name was Alexa Grasso.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could happen 2 weeks in a row, but not likely. I'll just, as far as DraftKings goes, this is probably a big fade. Although I will say, everyone always fades flyweight fights. No one likes to put, or not flyweight, but women's fights in general. Everyone likes to not play them. But actually, women's flyweights make the optimal lineup more than any other weight class, except for, I believe, featherweight. So you got to target women's flyweights. I would look at the Lipski side just so because they're cheaper. And yeah, I'm not interested in this fight whatsoever. Aldrich probably wins, but she doesn't do anything for DraftKings.
Yeah, she probably does win. I wonder if she can get that finish in this one. It's usually people that ground Ariane Lipski that end up getting that TKO stoppage. You know, I mean, besides Cachoeira, it was like Antonina Shevchenko that took her down and just, I think, like elbowed her on the ground. It was who the hell else was it? Who am I thinking of? There was one other person that did that same exact thing to her as well. Just got her down and
Montana De La Rosa.
Yeah, perfect example. Got her down, and she just basically tasted her own blood and folded. So that's probably the only reason why I wouldn't see like an underdog shot here, like a value side for Lipski. That's the only reason, is because just how undurable she is at such a light weight class, where you should see this, because usually you're looking at like a women's fight where you're like, well, how can she be a minus 400 when this is going to inevitably see the scorecards? But it might not, so certainly on the Aldrich side here, I like her skill set. I think she absorbs damage way better in this one. She probably has better cardio. But Lipski, she's okay on the ground when she's on the offense, but defensively, terrible. No way to get up, no way to do anything. So definitely taking Aldrich all day. I like what Dazfile said about the round 3, checking that one.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, seeing what the round 3 is. So, and what's up, Sicky Does MMA? Another day as John Bones Jones is the heavyweight champion. That is insane, Monk. Would you ever thought that was going to happen, 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
I thought it would have happened much sooner, but I'm happy for it either way.
Yeah, I was happy for just history's sake that happened, and as easy as it did. I mean, just ran through Cyril Gane. Did you see that video that was surfacing of Henry Cejudo, like giving that lesson at Fight Ready, where he was basically working through that position on the cage? That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that was cool. I usually don't like a lot of Cejudo's stuff, but just because he is the king of cringe, as he says. But that was good.
Just to see that it wasn't like a complete fluke, that it was like definitely practiced. And because a lot of these things look like, oh man, well, if God didn't do this or curl up a certain way, it's like they specifically work through that, so.
Just like Grasso, the film footage of her practicing that back take right before she came out for the fight. Incredible. Oh yeah, she said that they focused on anytime she spun with a spinning kick, she was going to take the back. That she said they drilled that constantly, more than anything else, and she was literally working on it before the walkout. Crazy.
That's insane for both the co-main and the main event. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, it was a fun night of fights for sure. It would have been a lot better profit-wise if Shevchenko would have come through with that, but what are you going to do? Daz Files, you were right, my friend. Nearly at 800 subs, that 1K is coming. That's mind-blowing, dude. I'm not gracious enough on here for all the people that watch the content. Certainly appreciate all of you guys. I cannot believe there's almost 800 of you that tune in week and week out. Super fun community. This is what I've always wanted, is just to talk fights nonstop with you guys. So I appreciate all the support, including my guy Tajik Bey in the chat, saying, my guys, great podcast. Yes. Always good to see you, the GOAT of the MMA betting community. Awesome to see you, Tajik. But yeah, let's move on to this is your spot where you love Mario Bautista at minus 1,000 over Guido Cannetti at plus 650. So this will be the highest. What'd you say it was, like a 9,700 salary?
Yeah, that's Bautista? The highest salary. In fact, it's so high it's only ever been used twice before this.
Who was
which
that?
Is a rarity. It would have been he was not. It would have been Joe Pyfer, and then Jailton Almeida against Abdurakhimov.
What about Romanov? Wasn't Romanov like one of the biggest favorites of all time over?
Yeah, he was still only 96, I believe.
Interesting. Yeah, but Bautista, 29 years old, only has tasted defeat in his debut to Corey Sandhagen in the UFC, and also Trevin Jones, scoring that highlight reel, walking backwards, like uppercut on him. But since then, he's been doing okay, but he's been having such a light schedule with Jay Perrin by decision, Brian Kelleher, that's a good win, submission, and also submitting Benito Lopez after a long layoff. So pretty light schedule. Now getting Guido Cannetti, surprisingly, at 43 years old. I'm pretty sure Cannetti is the second oldest fighter behind Arlovsky, since we no longer have, what's-his-face, Oleinik in the heavyweight division.
Probably right.
I think he's the oldest, which is crazy at bantamweight here. But Cannetti, he's dangerous early, probably has that round 1 knockout potential here. Otherwise, I don't see this going well for him. You know, Bautista should be able to outstrike him, and he's been working his grappling a lot. He should be able to take him to the mat and probably get something going there submission-wise. It's probably how I'd look for this, but what do we do here? Like I asked you before, like, does Cannetti, is this something you just throw like a round one prop on Cannetti? It's probably going to be something crazy betting wise. Like,
I think so.
Plus 1,000, plus 1,500. I'm not even sure. I have to look for that. But how do you see this fight playing out?
Yeah, just like you said, I think Bautista's probably, I think the time on Cannetti is about up. His last 2 wins, I mean, he did fantastic, but let's face it, he's fighting Randy Costa and the ghost of Chris Moutinho, coming off the beating of a lifetime from Sean O'Malley. So I'm a Guido fan. Unfortunately, I don't think it's Guido's week. I picked Mario Bautista. I don't know how you can bet him. You probably can't play him on DraftKings other than like cash game lineups. You can't really play him in big tournaments. He's just too expensive. We see salaries this expensive, and immediately, I mean, I'm looking for ways to play him, but it's really difficult. I mean, unless you are Jailton Almeida and can just rack up the amount of points he did in such a short amount of time, just being absolutely dominant while working every single second, you really can't score that amount of points. So for DraftKings, I don't like this fight at all. But the pick is definitely Bautista. And yeah, I mean, maybe a sprinkle on some Cannetti first round KO just for fun. But I think Mario's got him covered pretty much everywhere.
What do you like about the over under set at 1.5, the over being plus 155, the under minus 190? You know, they're just baiting you to try to do that over 1.5.
Yeah, they are.
That's a long 7.5 minutes against Bautista.
It really is
43.
It really is. Let's see. First round. He went to a split. Cannetti did against Mana Martinez. Mm-hmm. Other than that, he has not gone past 6.5 in his last 5, and that was Chito Vera. Bautista, first round, he went 3 with Perrin, but that was a domination. And then, it's going to be real hard. I think I stay away from that one. I mean, maybe I would say maybe there's value on the under, but that just doesn't even sound right coming out of my mouth. So I'd probably stay away from that.
Right. I hate playing under 1.5s in any weight class, but especially the lighter ones for sure.
Because I mean, he probably finishes Cannetti in the first, but that's tough. That's a tough 5-minute sweat too.
Yeah, Cannetti's still like pretty fast, honestly. Like his in and out movement is okay. He can still skirt on the outside, and I feel like he could just slip right through the fingers of an under 1.5 if you were to play that at almost 2-to-1 odds. So
yeah, you're asking for trouble.
Kind of with you there. As far as the fight doesn't go to decision, now that might be like a parlay piece if you can find that reasonably priced somewhere.
Sure.
Maybe something like Bovada sometimes will have that reasonably priced, just like you can parlay it. But let's see what that even is. That might. Sometimes they're okay. Sometimes they go, oh, okay, yeah, never mind. It's minus 600 on Bovada. So I don't know.
Yeah,
something to throw in like a D-gen parlay if you want to just go like a bunch of, violent spots that certainly won't see the scorecards. But
they're really baiting you. The last 4 fights have totaled like 11 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know if it's that many.
I wonder what Cannetti by submission would be though. I wonder if that's something that's playable. I don't have that up in front of me now. But I know DraftKings doesn't have that out just yet. BetOnline probably has some, but I like to wait for those specific props for like FanDuel, DraftKings. They usually have much better. Those are the books I go to for that. Now, like, what is your not to get too personal with you, but like, what's your action percentage-wise? Are you half and half with like betting and DraftKings? Or are you like 90% DraftKings and then 10% betting?
Generally, probably about half and half. I try to keep it. Okay. I'm not too crazy with either one, to be honest. But I generally try to keep it about half and half, just because I still like the betting action. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
How can you get away from that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but I'm starting to think the Monkmatician way of like thinking about, like a Jailton Almeida, like you brought up, how that guy does, like, now that I think about it, like, he gets a takedown right off the bat. He just hammer fists, looks for the submission. He's controlling the entire time. Like, I could see that guy's racking up points.
I mean, next week, not to jump ahead, but we've got Casey O'Neill, who up until this point is the best DraftKings performer I've ever tracked since 2021. Casey O'Neill, the best overall. And we've also got, Muhammad Makayev, best flyweight that I've ever tracked as far as DraftKings goes. We got both of them on the same card. Next week is a DraftKings week. I tell you that much right now.
I'll definitely be following your content. Be sure to subscribe to Monk on his channel. Subscribe to the MMA Engine as well. Don't want to miss out on that. Mario Bautista on BetOnline by submission is plus 100. He's got like he's got like Bo Nickel odds as far as the props goes. So yeah, we'll have to wait for another book if I want to get something reasonable on that. But we can move on to this slew of like Dana White Contender Series, debuting fighters, returning fighters. We've got Cedric Dumas taking on Josh Fremd at middleweight here. Undefeated 7-0 striker in Dumas, who actually does have some submission wins on his record as well. Snatched up the neck of his opponent on the Contender Series last August for the round 1 victory. Taking on Josh Fremd, who is now 0-2 in the UFC. He was doing pretty well in the LFA, and I like his skill set overall. He's pretty well-rounded. Nothing really shines out more than the last thing, but he does have knockout power, as does Dumas. But Dumas, man, just the schedule, like his competition has been so light. I don't know what to make of the guy. I'm not completely sold on him, to be honest. And I picked Josh Fremd as an underdog shot here, and the money line is, just getting more and more plus value on Josh Fremd. I'm not going to pull the trigger bet-wise on this one. I have to draw the line somewhere. But I think that it's very dangerous playing Dumas here. Like, he could run through Josh Fremd early, probably has the better, like, round 1, under 1.5 potential here. But Josh Fremd, man, his grappling is not bad. I've seen Dumas get awfully excited in the grappling, and it looks like Josh Fremd, who knows what he's doing, could certainly, get a reversal, end up on top, and grind out, a decision win, even get a late finish. So, yeah, I mean, what do you think about this Dumas kid? I mean, first off, he's from Florida, so that's got to add some finishing potential to him. He seems pretty wild and crazy. Like, he seems like he fits right in down in the Pensacola crowd. So,
yeah,
what do you think about this guy?
100%. I'm going to be on both sides of this a little bit for DraftKings, just because it is so low level and so high variance. You don't know what's going to happen here.
Now, what do you mean by that, Monk? You mean like on one lineup you might have Dumas, another one you might have Fremd?
Exactly, because I think whoever wins could put up a tremendous amount of points, to be honest. Dumas, he could, like you said, first round finish, boom, it's over. Just like Fremd, Gore did to Fremd. He did look decent against Anthony Hernandez, lasted the whole 15 minutes, but then got subbed brutally by Tresean Gore. I guess that was the second round. For some reason, I thought it was the first round, but he did manage to get to the second round. As far as DraftKings goes, he doesn't really put on a good offensive pace. He's less than 2 points a minute, which is a low number. It's just a low volume overall type of number. Whereas Dumas, I know it's only one fight in less than a minute. He scored almost 8 points a minute in that 1 minute. So it was pretty decent volume there, although we have to just throw that out. Again, we'll bring up the short notice replacement, because Fremd is a replacement fighter here. Again, 36% for those guys. But then again, debuting fighters only win at a 42% rate. So they kind of cancel each other out in this fight. I don't like this fight I don't like fights in where I have to target both guys. I like to be able to root for a guy. So I'll probably be about average as far as the ownership goes. But if I'm picking a winner, I'll probably pick Cedric. Hopefully he gets something done in an exciting way. But I don't mind the Fremd looks either, because a lot of times guys that like this situation goes overlooked all the time. 0-2 guy, he's going to lose this third one. It doesn't matter if it's a newcomer. He'll be out of the UFC. A lot of times those guys, especially those guys that can grapple, find a way to get it done against the newcomer and keep their job. So I don't mind the play on Fremd at all, and I don't know what I could possibly play on Dumas. I want to see what he can do at this level.
Right now we're looking at Cedric Dumas is minus 210. He's been just steadily increasing as a favorite as the week has gone on.
I get
plus
it.
180 on Fremd.
I get it, but I think this guy has 2 UFC fights, one at least, if you don't consider Gore much, which I don't know if I do. Anthony Hernandez is legit, and this dude did not get subbed out by Hernandez. So if he can get some grappling going, Dumas might be in trouble.
What I like is the LFA career for Josh Fremd, because he looks equally as powerful in the LFA as Dumas does against that slew of low-level competition on the regionals. You know what I mean? So, and we're talking about the one guy that Cedric Dumas faced on the regionals that was like 9-5, actually had some fights under his belt, and he took him to a decision. He had him in all sorts of trouble on the ground at all times, but could never finish the position, never get the submission. The guy was just squirmy enough to keep on moving his neck around and not getting subbed. So there wasn't like raining down ground and pound from Dumas. There was no, sense of urgency on the feet to knock him out, to make a statement. Like, he just kind of had to survive. So his cardio doesn't look that bad. He does look athletic, does Dumas, but I don't know. I'm not completely sold on him, especially not debuting
Exactly.
at a minus 210 favorite. So
Yeah,
if
that's
you got
nuts.
this, early on, then maybe. But I don't know. Maybe people are seeing something I'm not. I see a lot of people on Dumas, but I got to take Fremd here. And he's also Fremd is from Factory X Muay Thai, so got to be picking something up at 29 years old and a huge frame for middleweight. He's got to be picking something up from good old Jacoby over there.
You would hope.
Yeah, I'm not sure where is Cedricus training out of anywhere notable, or is he just like in the back alleys of Florida?
I got him at Port City Combat Sports, which I forget who else trains down there. I wanted to say Pickett, but I don't know if that's true.
That would not be a good sign.
That
Don't put that evil on him.
Yeah.
But all right, yeah, we're getting we got who in here saying Josh is getting submitted.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either. So that's why I said for DraftKings, you can that's the thing about DraftKings. You can put in 20 lineups and play a little bit of both sides.
Is Gore even in the UFC still? I mean, he just almost paralyzed Josh Fremd in that last. Yeah. That guillotine was nasty, dude. He snapped his neck up, and we got my guy. Now, Dev, is Dumas a lock? Usually, you've got a lock padlock next to some of your better picks here. I just see a fire emoji, so. Dumas is on fire, but is he a lock? Please answer in the chat. Dad's saying Port City's a hip hop dance hall. They just put down, it's not even mats, it's just pieces of cardboard and they spin on their heads.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on to another exciting fight, and I do have action on this one. Rafael Assuncao, who we spoke about against Victor Henry, he's taking on Davey Grant in this spot. Neither guy is the youngest man at bantam. We've got Assuncao now 40 years old. Davey Grant, 37 years old. And it's a pretty evenly lined fight with money coming in on the underdog on Assuncao, because I saw this fight over the weekend about minus 150, minus 160, maybe even a little bit more for Davey Grant. I was a little bit, skeptical of that, but it came down. I thought it was going to keep going on the Davey Grant side of things, to be honest, betting-wise, but it's come down to minus 140. Minus 133 even is where I got it at for 1.33 units on Davey Grant. I like him in this spot, man. I just think he's reckless enough to go in there and just throw tons and tons of output, maybe catch Assuncao with something, but at least the optics of this striking-wise, I think the judges are going to definitely favor seeing Davey Grant bum rushing forward, throwing all types of different strikes, mixing up the targets, as opposed to Rafael Assuncao on the back foot looking for the clean, limited counter-striking. Effective as it may be, I just think it's going to be limited as usual. So you spoke about kind of Assuncao being a low-output guy earlier in the night, so what do you think about this matchup? Do you like the veteran in Assuncao here at plus money?
I do not. I don't think. I mean, I'd almost lean Davey Grant by decision, or one of them by I'd look at the split, to be honest. One of them by split, maybe.
Okay. Now you're speaking LouBetya's language.
I know, he's rubbing off on me, I tell you. Even Davey Grant, I would say Davey Grant by KO, but man, Assuncao has been finished in 3 of his last 4 fights. 2 of them have been KOs. One was to the Garbrandt one, obviously, and then Ricky Simone. Is Davey Grant on that level as far as striking? Boy, he hits hard as hell. I don't know. Assuncao might be slowing down a bit, but at the end of the day, he does like to counterpunch, like you said. So for DraftKings, I don't know. I'm probably staying away from this for DraftKings. I mean, maybe a little bit of Davey Grant, but yeah, as far as money lines, I don't know if I can get to it with Assuncao, but I would almost look for a split, maybe a Assuncao split or a Davey Grant. I mean, man, I'd have to see what Davey Grant KO is too. That's kind of intriguing. Maybe later KO, second, third round, finish it off. But I kind of see this one going to a decision, to be honest. I don't know
From a DraftKings perspective, you don't like Davey Grant here. He's gotten close to triple significant strikes, triple digit significant strikes in his last 3 fights. He scores knockdowns. You don't like that on his side of things. It's not enough for you. And his money line's pretty light.
That's true. He did score well 5 fights ago against Martin Day, and then Jonathan Martinez was okay. But generally, he's a bit what we consider lower volume for DraftKings. If you get triple digits and don't do any kind of takedowns, control time, nothing else, it's going to be kind of difficult to find that, especially because with the amount of time that passes, your bonus points go down between rounds. So you obviously get more points for the first round, less for the second and third. So if you're finishing in the third, you're only getting half the points you were if you were finishing in the first. So it works out to where he's about a middling DraftKings player, whereas Assuncao is bottom of the barrel. especially as far as this card goes. I mean, there's nothing I like about his numbers at all. Whereas Davey Grant, I could see myself getting to him. He's a middling DraftKings player with a middling salary, so I think he's right where he should be, and with potential to score that knockdown plus a finish, an early finish in this first or second or third round. I think he could score okay, but nothing crazy.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And we got Agent Holden Ford in the chat, like in the Assuncao side.
Nice.
He has faced tougher competition, and he has grappling mixed in. Yeah, I mean, he did that against Victor Henry for sure. Scored some of that control time. Also, just counter-struck appropriately. And he's saying Grant is not on the level. That's true, but Grant, man, I mean, both these guys end up making fights very close. Is my problem with this. Like both guys they end up. Like Assuncao will pull something out of his ass, even after a 4-fight losing streak, 3 of them finishes. He still goes in there against Henry and whoops him up, makes him look like a rookie, scoring, I think, 3 rounds to 0. But Davey Grant has gone in there against guys like, Marlon Chito Vera, of course. I mean, the second time he fought the leveled up version of Marlon Vera, who always drops round 1, to be fair, but he, was able to do that, start off very strong. Adrian Yanez, who was a very technical striker as well, kind of like Assuncao in a way. That
was a very close fight.
Yeah, I mean, Davey Grant just basically just overwhelmed him with like a ton of looks as far as mixing the target, bum rushing forward, and just the optics were really what decided that one. And one judge scored it for him. It was very arguable. So that's kind of what I like here. And I'm at 40 years old now at bantamweight. I'm kind of looking ahead a little bit, so to speak. Like I try to look ahead at these guys. Like I'm expecting a lesser version of Assuncao, and I'm expecting Davey Grant to maybe just be what we've always seen, which is a durable guy who throws a lot. So at these odds, I had to take the stab on Davey Grant, and maybe he can finally. You always see the signs of these guys' chins like leaving them. Even if it is Cody Garbrandt, Ricky Simone. Guys like that who are Marlon Veras in that club and sub, guys like that who are like pretty good power punchers and
that sets the table for guys like this to knock you out.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say here. Like, you always see the signs before it happens, and maybe he has like one final swan song against Victor Henry, but then it's like after this, maybe it's downhill from here. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm predicting. Close fight, man. Close fight. Rafael Assuncao could certainly come in here and
show us
be like be like a better version of Guido Cannetti and still be doing this at 43. Who knows? But that's where I'm coming at it. So, we're looking at no way Grant lights up Assuncao when Henry couldn't do it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like Henry was like just technical enough. Like this sounds really stupid, but like he was like playing the game enough with Assuncao. Like it played into Assuncao's like clean striking favor. I feel like David Grant's just going to go in there with no care in the world for his own safety and just rely on that chin and be offensive. So, yeah, Justin. Yeah, there's a lot of us. He's saying Grant's going to light up Assuncao. All right, man. Well, we got a little bit of mixed opinion. This is why it's a close line. I love this card as far as all the close matchups go, but we can move on to another battle between two Dana White Contender Series alumni here in Lucas Brzeski, who we saw get robbed in his decision against Martin Buday last year, I'm pretty sure, taking on Carl Williams, who I don't know a whole lot about, to be honest. Like I watched all of his footage. I saw his fight in the Contender Series where he took out the giant, like 266 Jimmy Lawson, who's a Penn State wrestler apparently, and he got out wrestled by Carl Williams the entire time and gassed out. Both these guys are pretty big. I'd say Brzeski, more of the natural heavyweight, so to speak, at 6'4" and a giant reach. Same for Carl Williams, but Carl Williams at 205 or before the Dana White Contender Series. And Carl Williams, man, getting a lot of betting love. He's like a minus 200 favorite here, maybe a little bit more, plus 170 or so for Brzeski. And I agree that Williams should be the favorite. I like his skill set here, but the reason I'm not betting him is because Brzeski did show that he's got pretty good cardio for a big man and scored like a lot of significant strikes against Buday, right? He struck him at range, mixed up the boxing targets well, and he put up like something crazy, like over 110.
He was like 118.
Like that. 118, yeah. So that's something to always keep your eye open for at heavyweight because that's super rare, even if it is a human punching bag like Buday. But ultimately, I think the wrestling of Carl Williams should be the difference maker. It's just I don't know enough about this guy to really pull the trigger on it. So what's your impressions of Carl Williams to start?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I think this is pretty straightforward. Williams should be able to land a takedown in the first round and, ride this dude out for 3 minutes. And then the exact same thing in the second round, same thing in the third round. I mean, 3 takedowns might be all it takes. I think this is easily a Williams decision. I'm just not impressed with Brzeski, even though I do agree with you. He should have won that fight against Boudet. That fight was terrible. It was just an awful fight to watch. He almost outscored him 2-1. I don't know how he lost that fight, but in my opinion, neither guy won. So it works out a little bit. But yeah, give me Carl Williams. I don't mind him for DraftKings either. It's hard for me to get behind newcomers, but when you're going against a guy that I still feel is unproven, especially at this level, low-level heavyweight fight, I'm going to favor the guy that has the wrestling upside and the control time upside, the finish upside. I'm going to take Carl Williams here at $9,000. It is a bit expensive for a newcomer, but I don't mind it. I don't trust Lucas at all, and I think he could. I just think he's going to spend 13 minutes on his back here.
The things I don't like, even standing-wise, from Lucas Brzeski, if you watch the tape before the Contender Series, the guy does not absorb damage very well at all. He's like a heavyweight Lipski on the feet, you know? Like, he got dropped by I think it was his only knockout loss. He got dropped by like a jab like 3 times, then put out by strikes against a pretty low-level guy. Just not really. Now, he was, I will say, in the fight against Boudet last August, he did look better than I thought because he was so reckless on the Contender Series. And that's kind of when my mind started to switch to like, all right, Dana White in the week 1 of last year yelled at everybody for not being exciting. You saw a lot of those guys then just be like stupid reckless like the remaining weeks to try to get a contract. And then you see them in the UFC debut and they're a little bit more refined and they do more of what they've been practicing. I saw that from Brzeski a little bit more. Like he seemed to, I thought I was going to get this wild risk-adverse style from Brzeski and then he was going to get put out. But he looked a little bit more technical and I think he deserved a win, but got robbed there. But still, I like the striking of Carl Williams, to be honest with you. Like, it seems okay in combinations, but again, they were at 205-pound bouts. Got the kid in here saying he trained with Williams in 2017. He's going to win this pretty easily. His wrestling is very, very good. It looked very, very good last time we saw him, man. So hopefully he uses it. It seems like it is his go-to game plan most of the fights I watched, so that's not bad. And he does train at ATT Lima, I believe, down south, so a pretty good camp there to complement his debut in the UFC. But
well, maybe Brzeski will show us some takedown defense, but until I see it, I don't buy it.
I don't buy it either. What's going on, Sean? Good to see you in here. Let's make some money, lads. This is a hard card to pick. Could go both ways. Yeah, I mean, that's what's so fun about these fights. So that's why I'm firing off a lot of money lines, just hoping I get the majority of them correctly. But that's what makes these cards so entertaining, man, is when you can make arguments for like every underdog on the card. So, but yeah, I think we exhausted that one. Still a lot to learn from Carl Williams. Overall, the money line at -200, a little bit rich for my blood. Not going to bet that one, but we do have kind of a similar situation here. Another battle between the debuting Vitor Petrino, who's 7-0, powerful striker off the Contender Series, taking on Anton Turkalj, or as we all know him, the Pleasure Man, who pretty much is making his debut here. I mean, he had to take on Monk's favorite, Jailton Almeida, in his debut because he didn't get a contract off the Contender Series, right? Like, he scored a bunch of takedowns over Dos Santos. Boring fight. I think that was the week 1 when like Dana was in the mood of not giving out contracts. And I don't think he gave Anton a contract. Like, he had to earn it by showing up on short notice for Shamil and getting choked out in round 1. So now he's back at 205 where he belongs, taking on this guy, Petrino. Pick him price tag. I did put a money line bet, just 1 unit on the Pleasure Man at +115 when I saw it on that side, because I like that plus money on him. And I think if he just avoids getting his head knocked off here, he should be able to grapple and wear out Petrino, who in his one decision result for Petrino, I did see him get a little bit tired at the end of the bout, as you would expect. He's a big jacked guy. Those muscles fill up with blood, and he got out grappled at the end of the round, but he did enough work in the beginning of the fight to get that decision win and stay undefeated. But yeah, I mean, I could definitely see Anton Turkalj getting knocked out early in this fight. This is definitely a risky bet, but at the plus money, I'll take it. If we're flipping coins, you're going to give me +115 every time. I'll play that game. So, what do you think about these guys? I gotta say, Monk, I do like a guy named Vitor. So I was going against my bias here. I wanted to pick him just for that, but couldn't do it this time. What do you like about this fight?
Yeah, I don't mind that take at all. I like the plus money side. I think it's going to go one of two ways. It's either Turkalj doesn't get his head like ripped off or knocked off, I should say, and he starts landing some takedowns and just dominates this fight on the ground, or Petrino knocks his head off at some point in the fight. This is another one where you have to play both sides. This is actually the closest lined fight as far as DraftKings goes. One guy's 8,200, Petrino, the slight favorite. Turkalj is the slight dog at $8,000. You get 6 spots on your lineup. If it's me, I'm building 5 spots and then putting one of these 2 guys in with the last spot, basically. Okay. is what I'm kind of looking to do. Because really, I don't know who's going to win. I know Petrino is only 7-0, and what's going to happen if he gets taken down? If he can't stuff a takedown, he's going to be in a lot of trouble here against Turkalj, and you can't knock. I mean, unless you're Kevin Holland, you can't knock anybody out from your back. So I guess I'm leaning Turkalj, but that's also me trusting him not to get his head knocked off, as I said before. Vitor definitely has a chance to end this early. So I think both guys have tremendous upside as far as DraftKings. I think the winner scores very well. You're right. It's not fair that Turkalj had to go up against Jailton Almeida, but we got to throw that fight out as far as DraftKings goes. Vitor has no fights, just a DWCS fight. We'll throw that fight out too, start these guys off fresh, and see if one of them can land takedowns and if the other can stuff them.
Yeah, and Vitor, I mean, he starts slowing down and having to like really load up those strikes, telegraph those strikes pretty early into the fight. Even in round 1, he really has to load up, and his opponents, if they can see what's coming, if they're like more experienced, they can certainly prepare for it and counter appropriately. But yeah, you see Turkalj, you saw that fight before the Contender Series where he like missed the head kick right away and then got the spinning back fist. I compared him to like a dollar store value version of Johnny Walker in some ways, because we've seen that same thing play out with him against Justin Ledet. So just like Johnny Walker, it does scare me because the guy can either go out there and win spectacularly or lose in a highlight reel fashion. So
yeah, I like what Who says. That the fight doesn't go the distance. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one. I saw some people get that at like a -120 or something like that for the unders, for like the under 2.5.
That would be.
I know
fantastic.
My guy, I think Propaholics, I think my guy Johnny K. Picks also had that. There were some people that jumped on that early.
Probably way worse than that now.
It's probably spectacularly bad. It's probably more where it belongs now, but one of these guys is going to gas 200? Out and get knocked out. Yeah, even that would be
low. Yeah, you're probably right.
TRT Victor will look better than he did the last fight. Yeah, I mean, hey, if he's on the TRT that his father Vitor Belfort had, he might look pretty darn good in this one.
Yeah, true.
But hey, we got Said Nurmagomedov up next at bantamweight taking on Jonathan Martinez. This is certainly one of like the Twitter feuding fights of the week for sure, because I got to say, I don't agree with where the money line is at now. It should certainly be closer with Nurmagomedov being a -230 favorite over Jonathan Martinez. Oh, I'm looking at -250 on some books. -255 for Said. Jonathan Martinez +215. I mean, at this point, we're certainly looking at like a Russian tax for the last name of Khabib. Yep. You know what I mean? So you're not getting that from this. Said Nurmagomedov does have grappling upside, in my opinion, but he's not going out there and that's his main game plan. Like, he will attempt takedowns, single legs, strong in the clinch. Certainly has like the submission, like the front choke series down pat, but he's not going out there like that's his first line of offense. He does like to do spinning techniques, use the kicking game, which is just like what Jonathan Martinez likes to do as well. Great kickboxer, good output, and good striking. But there's things I don't like from both guys here. And I do lean Nurmagomedov in this bout. I just think he's very good at capitalizing on those moments to win the fights. And that's where Jonathan Martinez has fallen short sometimes. Like, he'll be doing all of the good work in the round, win 80% of the fight, and then get dropped at the end of the round. And sort of like, you don't know if he won the round or not. He's not the most durable guy, in my opinion. So I am taking Nurmagomedov. I got this at -175, so a better line. Even that was like pushing it for me. And it's a very close fight. I could certainly see Martinez being live as an underdog here and racking up the points necessary to win this fight, because we've seen Nurmagomedov be a little bit lacking in urgency. Like, he'll win round 1. He's very good at winning round 1. He'll start to fall off a bit in round 2, and then round 3, he's got to reel it back and try to secure that decision, which he's done so far against a high-level opposition. Both of these guys are on 4-fight winning streaks. Better competition for Nurmagomedov so far, but still only 28 years old for Martinez. This guy could certainly level up. So who do you favor in this one? And as far as a betting or a DraftKings perspective, who is the guy to put your cash behind here?
Yeah, this one should be a great fight. Like Tiffany Shields said in the chat, I think I barely favor Said Nurmagomedov, but as far as a DraftKings or betting, I'd be looking at the Martinez side. He is a significant underdog as far as DraftKings goes. Whereas Nurmagomedov is a very expensive fighter, and he does nothing offensively, nothing at all. Like, he scores what I call in baseball, there's a thing called the Mendoza line, batters that bat under 200. Well, in UFC, I'm calling it the Lewis line, fighters that score under 2 points a minute, named after our guy Derek Lewis. And Said Nurmagomedov is well under that Lewis line, 1.8 a minute. He does nothing. He caught the third guillotine that Romanov put himself in the last fight. And it was a very good guillotine against an inexperienced guy. And he wrapped it up. But you're definitely paying their Nurmagomedov tax, even though he's not related at all. So at least that's what they say. So give me Martinez, a little bit of a dog shot. I don't mind it. I think this one should be a lot closer than it is. I probably favor Nurmagomedov just on a picks perspective, but just barely. So that automatically tells me at the wide gap that Martinez is at, I'm going to favor him for betting and for DraftKings. So I'm not playing Nurmagomedov at all. Give me some Martinez for a little bit of a dog shot in what should be a close striking battle.
And do you think this sees the scorecards more often than not in this fight, or do you think there's a finishing potential for either guy likely? Do you think, because Said is pretty durable, he's pretty defensively responsible, so I could see him finishing or Martinez winning that decision.
Yeah, that's probably how I see it. Nurmagomedov has 3 of his last 4 wins by finish, whereas Martinez only 3 of his last 5 fights have gone to decision. So yeah, I'd probably say Nurmagomedov. I think this one goes to decision more often than not, for sure.
We're looking at Jonathan Martinez by decision at
plus
300.
Hey, that's not too bad.
Plus 300 there. I'm sure some other books, when they drop that, will be maybe a little bit, maybe get closer to plus 350, plus 400. I was going to say,
I'd like it a bit wider, but how many strikes per minute does Said throw? Well, in his last 5, he only lands 3.19. How many does he throw? He throws in his career 7.96 per minute, which sounds like a lot. It is not. It is not a lot. That is towards under the average for the division at bantamweight.
Yeah, I mean, you start some of those numbers. You got to remember
Martinez
per weight
10.
class. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to remember as far as, when we make content every week, it's a little bit more in the forefront of your brain. But yeah, I mean, those are not, that's like light heavyweight numbers,
right?
compared to bantamweight, where you should be very, very active. But yeah, I mean, this is more of just a feeling. At this line, I definitely think the value is all on Martinez. Even where I got it, there's not a whole lot of extra value at minus 175, to be honest with you. I took the bet on it. I just saw what I saw on the tape, and I really do value the experience, just the moment winning. You got to trust in Nurmagomedov to do something that he does not successfully do very often. That's, I think, grapple would be the path of least resistance. I still think that there's some tricks up the sleeve of Said that we haven't seen before, because you do see it in pieces, but it's against higher level guys who are just wise to it. And it's when the guy's tired and trying to win the fight. That's when he starts diving for takedowns. If we could just do that a little bit earlier, if we grab those single legs earlier, catch the kicks earlier, but he's so content to try to throw strikes and win the fight that way early, that until it's too late, he doesn't go for it. But the guy is very muscular, very strong in the clinch. And I don't know. You're trusting in Said to do things he hasn't done before. You're trusting him to get those big moments and capitalize on them. But then Martinez, you're expecting him to be durable and not drop the ball, when I can see him being very lazy sometimes defensively. And he'll be looking right at you, and you can just hit him in the face and drop him, after he's won 90% of the round. So it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Very frustrating for either guy here, but should be a fun fight. And I think in the back of my mind, all money aside, I am kind of rooting for Jonathan Martinez. I would like him to level up and keep rising the ranks. He seems pretty promising at the weight class. So, yeah, we're kind of on the same side of that one.
Agreed,
both picking Said, but both, see the value in Martinez. So I don't fault anybody there. But we can move on to a very fun fight up this card. Ricardo Ramos taking on Austin Lingo at featherweight. This is another big favorite, Monk. We've got Ricardo Ramos sitting around a minus 350-ish? Am I looking at that correctly? Yeah, minus 350 for Ramos. Austin Lingo plus 285. I mean, I kind of agree with that line, to be honest with you. I don't think it's far off. Austin Lingo certainly could crowd the kicker, crowd the movement, cut off the cage, and use his traditional boxing sort of skill set to land something big. But I think that's about it. It's like a puncher's chance. Ramos has got a very well-rounded game, good kicks, good spinning attacks, and then he also has that wrestling on the BJJ side of things as well. So I could see him winning this fight in a variety of ways. Decision, inside the distance. But Lingo, I don't rate that highly. I mean, he's 28. He could still make some improvements, but he's coming off of that win over Luis Saldana a while back, and that's a test that you just kind of have to pass. Is like, can you endure a fast starter and then capitalize as he fades? Like, it's kind of an easy, matchup, I think, if you're going to be something in this division at the UFC level. So I'm not sure what to make of that victory, to be honest. But what do you like about Austin Lingo in this spot, and does he have a shot here as a plus money underdog?
I like the fact that he's never been finished, which makes me like Ramos by decision. I'd want to look at that number for sure.
9-1 record for Lingo.
Yeah, very good. I mean, he's 2-1 in the UFC, only lost to Yusuf Zalal. But he's beating the guys he should beat, like you said. Ricardo Ramos, on the other hand, very expensive and just does not score as well as I need him to make the optimal lineup. So I will be fading him on DraftKings. But as far as a betting, I mean, I think this is a setup fight. I think this is I don't know what they're setting him up for, but I think Ramos should absolutely dominate here. I think he can win 14 out of 15 minutes of this fight if it goes all three rather. And I think he even has a chance to win inside the distance, although I wouldn't bet on that just because Lingo does seem to be durable. I mean, he's gone 15 minutes in all of his fights. And like I said, never been finished in his career. I know he only has one loss, but still almost, a majority of his fights go to decision, or at least half of them in his pro career. So give me Ramos. I'd like to see what that decision line is. But other than that, I mean, I like it for cash games, meaning small field tournaments for DraftKings, but for big field tournaments, I might just be fading. I'm fading a lot of the top end guys this week. They're simply too expensive for what they do. But like I said, betting wise, let me see the Ramos by decision, and I'll probably make a judgment call off of that. I don't mind that spot. If it's, I don't know. I mean, what are we plus or 300? Are we better than that by decision? That would be nice.
I'm sorry. What do you?
I assume so. What Ramos by decision?
Ramos by decision. What are you asking for? You're asking for what? That's going to be some crazy odds. I feel like.
You think so?
Yeah, I feel
he
like
is coming off that KO. It'll probably make it a bit wider than it maybe should be.
Plus 140 on BetOnline for Ramos by points.
Oh, that's it. I
feel like it's going to be crazy low just because of you're cutting down that giant money line price tag. And
well, I was hoping his quick KO of Chavez would make that a little better, but probably not. Yeah, I don't know if I can get to that one. I mean, that's going to be tough.
Speaking I like Chavez. Chavez was a guy who was like more of like a gritty boxer who had never been finished. I don't think he had ever been finished before. And then
that might be true.
Ricardo Ramos cracked his chin with that spinning elbow with the quickness.
That might be true. And he did make the optimal lineup in that fight. He was pretty expensive too. Maybe we'll get a repeat of that.
Danny Chavez. That was his first and only knockout loss.
Well, that's last fight. Good to know. Good to know.
So he has.
Yeah, I don't trust Lingo.
Cracking chins.
Yeah, I don't trust Lingo here. The only other thing I will mention, as far as $9,500 salary, when it fights the $6,700 salary, as it is in this scenario, it has a win rate of 92%, which is the highest number of any I mean, that's the highest win rate I've ever seen for any stat, pretty much 92% when 95 fights 67, and that's what we have here with Ramos against Lingo. So that is a huge number.
No, wait, run that back. Run that back again. What were you saying now? What are the numbers you're comparing?
9,500 Ramos. That's his salary. It's one of the highest ones there is against 67.
Gotcha.
So yeah, when they fight each other, 95 wins 92% of the time, which is an astounding win rate.
Big favorites usually come through against.
Yeah, well, it's not like that. No? The 9,600, not all the time. No, but this one is the exception.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
So usually we're at like 60, 70%. This is 92%. This is as close to a lock as you can get.
Okay. So you're liking this one. I'm sure if there was less options on this card, that might be one of your go-tos is Ramos, basically, right?
Right. Yep.
But you've got better options so far that you've seen. And I think there's some coming up on the card. 32 of you guys in the live chat. Always great to talk fights with all of you on a Wednesday night. Awesome to have you, Monk, here for the first time. Certainly going to have you back on here, man. There's a lot to learn about this DraftKings side of things.
Oh, I love it.
It's fun to analyze fights from different angles, and your content. I mean, it's fun to get into this now because I'd watch your content and just show support, leave you a comment, leave you a like. You're my bro, but all the stats were over my head. I had no idea what you're talking about. Salaries, optimal.
Yeah, I get deep.
All these big words. Yeah, I know. I felt like I walked to the wrong college course. I walked to the wrong lecture hall. I'm
Do
like,
the Travolta. You're like, what's going on in the right spot?
Exactly. But up next, we do have our rescheduled bout. This time it's at a catch weight of 215 between Nikita Krylov and Ryan Spann. Supposed to be the 5-round headlining bout a couple of fight nights ago, but Krylov pulled out due to some sort of illness, maybe some rehydrating issue, maybe some weight cutting issue. But we got it back again, almost at the same odds as it was before. I'm pretty sure Nikita Krylov now a minus 170 favorite, plus 145 Ryan Spann. I think that was where it was for the majority of the week last fight night, but I think Krylov had moved up to like a minus 190 by the time the fight took place. And I had a bet on Krylov, so I'm glad that he didn't limp his sick ass in the octagon and get folded right away. That was nice. But I also had like the fight doesn't start round 4 and shit like that parlayed. So all those parlays ended up being a lot less value. This does change things. Like my pick is the same. I still think Krylov has way more ways to win as long as he can survive getting bonked by Spann in round 1. I think he could finish Spann in round 1 or any part of the fight after that. But I don't think that this is a slam dunk if the fight doesn't go, because it was 5 rounds before. There's no way in hell I could see Spann lasting 5 rounds, 25 minutes. But I could see him maybe squeaking through 15. And then this also changes behavior-wise, strategy-wise. Like, how fast will these guys go in round 1? Like, I would expect nothing from a fast start from Spann, but what about Krylov? He can be reckless. Would he have been a little bit more technical and risk-adverse in a 5-round fight, knowing that he had to go potentially 5 rounds? Now it's 3 rounds. Will he go faster? Will he, get in a firefight with Spann right away? So that changes things a little bit. I'm no longer going to bet Nikita Krylov like I did before in his money line, just because mostly the MMA betting gods, sometimes I feel like they shine down on us and they say, look, you didn't want this bet. You were on the wrong side of it. We're just going to, cause him some illness and reschedule this. You can think about what you've done. Keep your money in your pocket here. So that's where I'm at with this one, but I still like the under 1.5. I still like Krylov. Monk, is Ryan Spann going to knock his head off in round 1?
I would go for the submission if I was going to be on the Spann.
You like Ryan
side.
Spann a lot from a DraftKings perspective.
I like both sides. Yeah, both. You have to play this fight. You have to play. I mean, both guys are fantastic at DraftKings scoring wise. I think Ryan Spann, what is it? Some crazy stat like every single one of his UFC wins has been in the first round. I think something about all of his last 5 fights for sure have ended in the first round. Krylov 2 of his last 5 ended in the first round, and he's usually a finisher or get finished type guy. We've got 2 of them here. I love this fight for DraftKings. You got to play both sides. Krylov, the interesting stat, has been subbed 6 times out of 9 professional fights. Yeah. He's been subbed 4 times out of 7 UFC losses, and he's been subbed once out of his last 2 losses. Guys, Ryan Spann, 12 sub wins in his career out of 21. Granted, only 2 of 7 in the UFC, but one of them was against, I believe, who was it? Cutelaba? Yeah, Cutelaba. Yep, wrapped that neck up real nice. Krylov loves to put himself in bad positions. This is going to be a bad IQ type of fight. It's going to be fantastic to watch. The winner, I'd be shocked if they didn't make the optimal lineup, meaning they're going to score very, very well. I just don't know who's going to win. I think the smart play is Krylov, but I think Spann is the contrarian play where you have to get a little bit different because a lot of people are going to be on Krylov this week. So I love this fight for DraftKings. Love it as a fight fan in general. And I think violence for sure in this one.
Yeah, and I'm starting to realize why I've got such a weird feeling about Ryan Spann in this one. Like last time it was a 5-round bout. So like I said, I had some bets that were like covering in case Ryan Spann got that round 1. Not a knockout, but like, a club and sub, basically. He's gonna punch you in the head and then grab up your neck, basically, is what he's gonna do. He's done it time and time again. But what I had was like the under 1.5. I had like the fight doesn't start round 3, the fight doesn't start round 4. I had like things that would cover me. I don't have that insulation of like those insurance policies on this one because it's such a short fight. So that's partially why I'm not putting that bet in on Krylov here. But I'm not quite like
makes sense.
Like you said, the smart play was on potentially the contrarian on Spann here. And I wonder if you can still get those like round 1, because he has not been out of round 1 in like 5 fights. So anything round 1 for Spann, I like. I don't hate anybody taking the finish prop for Spann in this one, or even just that plus money. I don't hate it. It's a different fight now. It really is. People want to say it's the same. The reads, the strategy, the tape that you saw is all the same, but this is a different fight.
And Krylov might still be messed up. Who knows?
Yeah, you can't have the same confidence here. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with Mike Pans on this one. I think it is going to be a banger.
Agreed.
Would be very shocked if this one goes to the scorecards for sure. And Mr. D took a sprinkle on KO and sub plus 1,000 each for Spann. Woo, I like those odds. That's nice. Yeah, I can see it happening, man. It's
not bad.
I agree with you, Monk. I think that Krylov can put himself in bad spots, particularly early in this fight. So,
I mean, he had Paul Craig dead to rights and then like put himself in a triangle.
That's the prime. That's Exhibit A is what we're talking about here.
Yep,
that was horrible. I think that was the London card like a year ago, wasn't it?
I think so. And we're back. Oh no, that's next week. We're not in London this week.
No, not yet. Back in Vegas. My guy Eric Betts Fights is going to see this one.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
He invited me. I was going to go out there, but in a week I've got a powerlifting meet, so I'm trying to make the smart choices, just recover and
you don't want to go to Vegas a week before a competition?
I've done it before, man. I'm trying to be better this in my older age here. I'm trying to reach some goals and take this a little bit more seriously. But I've done many a Vegas trip and many a pseudo Vegas trip with the amount of alcohol I've consumed before I've competed before. I've gotten away with it in the past, but trying to be better now.
There you go.
Spann by BBC Choke says 9-inch penis on hard. That sums up how I feel about that one. I'm very excited, my friend. Thank you.
There we go.
For that comment. So we've got the co-main event up next. Heavyweight bout between Alexander Volkov and Alexander Romanov. So two European Alexanders here. One's a striker in Volkov. One's a grappler in Romanov. Big boys, we see a little bit more of a trimmed down version of Romanov. Last time out, weighing, closer to 240 pounds. Volkov bulked up in the past couple of years. Now up there at like 256, I think he weighed in against Rosenstrike when he got that round one knockout last year. I like Volkov here. I do have a money line bet on him at plus 142, just one unit. It's a risky proposition, man. Like if you're going to bet this, probably be a good idea to have your finger on the live bet button after round one if Volkov survives. That's how I would play it. Look for around plus 275 to plus 300, hopefully, if he gets tossed around in round one, which I assume is going to happen. But, dude, I just don't think Romanov's got the gas tank, and that's really what I'm fading here. Like, I like the experience for Volkov. I like his cardio and striking. Romanov, man, he's almost – well, he lost his last fight. Probably should have been a draw, but he lost it to Taipura for gassing out after ragdolling around Marcin Taipura in round one. The Juan Espino fight, the other, better heavyweight that he's faced, should have lost that fight. Got a nicely timed low blow, square in the nards, and he really played it up, Aljamain Sterling style, and he crippled him. Like that nut shot, Monk crippled, he couldn't walk. Yeah. He had to get like a segue out of the octagon. But got the technical. Was that a draw? That was a technical draw in that bout.
No, I think it counted as a win.
It was a win.
Split decision.
Split technical
because
decision.
It was technical. Yeah, technical decision.
Oh man. So, but otherwise, I mean, who's he fought? Vandera, Chase Sherman, Rocky Martinez, and still, I just don't think he's going to have the gas tank in this one unless he finishes Volkov in round one. That's a possibility. But give me Volkov here to take over. Might even sprinkle a round 3 finish for Volkov because I just don't like the gas tank of Romanov. So what do you like about this one?
I love that breakdown. I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, we just saw Volkov get taken down and subbed immediately back in 2022 by Tom Aspinall. Aspinall's going to be way more athletic than Romanov. And Aspinall, I think, would beat Romanov, to be honest. But I'm liking Romanov early, and I'm, like you said, Volkov late. That's as far as I want to see. I just need to see more Romanov cardio. He is coming in much lighter, as you mentioned, which is a good sign. Hopefully he's working on the cardio. But he just likes to throw dudes around. He won't just go for simple takedowns. He needs to gas himself out for some reason. So maybe if he can, just work on that a little bit, maybe land a body lock takedown or something a little less intensive than a German suplex type of takedown that he likes to go for.
Yeah, the guy goes crazy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he won't gas himself out.
He's got to assert dominance is what he has to do.
Yeah, it seems like it, but then he doesn't have the cardio to back that up, like you said. So then in the second round, he's getting dominated, third round especially. So I like that. I like this fight for DraftKings for Romanov. For Volkov, not so much. He doesn't really score very well. I probably won't be playing much of him. Yeah, honestly, I guess if you held a gun to my head, the pick is Romanov, but I think, man, I think I might regret that because I think Volkov's going to win. I mean, Volkov by decision could be the easiest bet on this card, to be honest. But I don't even mind the Volkov like round 3 finish. That sounds very interesting to me. So I might be looking to do a little arbitrage or something. Get a little bit of both sides, or maybe play Romanov and DraftKings and put some money on Volkov or something. I like that Volkov round 3. That is an interesting prop you brought up.
I feel like you're gonna look foolish either way if you bet this fight. You know, like you're gonna look foolish if you lose it either way. Like you're gonna be like, God damn it, I should have known that. I should have bet on Romanov. He gasses out tying his shoes.
Yeah.
But then Volkov, what if Volkov gets submitted in round 1 by like a straight armbar the way that Tom Aspinall did? He'd be like, well, I should have seen that one coming. But Volkov has, he's forced a lot of really good grapplers to kind of gas out. Like even Curtis Blades, who's got miles more cardio than Romanov, even he was able to stay, keep on forcing Curtis Blades to retake him down. He would stand up, wall walk with his long limbs, Volkov would, and then eventually, 3 rounds later in a 5-round fight, he was able to mount some offense. But that's a very, very big difference in wrestling than, Curtis Blades, who is athletic, uses very, efficient technique than Romanov here, who's just mauling people around. I would love to see in round 1 if if Romanov does like a Bill Goldberg style like jackhammer takedown, just gets
he
like
holds
a giant,
him up there for like 10 seconds.
You see the long 7-foot-tall Volkov just hanging out vertically, and then
comes out breathing smoke through the fireworks.
Yeah, that would be
sick, dude.
Can't you picture that, Monk?
Oh, that would be holding up a 7-foot-tall Volkov. Oh, that's amazing. And they would call him 7 feet in that organization.
Absolutely.
He's the giant.
Yeah, he's the Undertaker's half brother from Russia.
Yeah.
Volk is getting smoked like a cheap cigar in round 1, says Andrew Tate. Good to see you, Andrew Tate. It's been a while.
You got a phone in that Romanian prison. That's good.
Romanov worked on his gas tank last time. It was it was at elevation last time. But I mean, what about the other times he gassed out, like against Juan Espino? Was that also at elevation? What was that one at?
Let's hope he's working on the cardio.
Maybe every time he's just only fought at elevation, always. Let's see here. Juan Espino, that was in Las Vegas. Uh-oh. Yikes. Yep. But the Marcin Tybura one was at the Salt Lake City card. So, yeah, I mean, something to consider. He could get better. I mean, this is, it's an underdog shot. What do you want from me? I'm gonna play it. I had 2 bets. I had kind of the arbitrage thing you're talking about last week with Dricus du Plessis. I played his round 2 knockout over Brunson, but I also played Brunson's round 3 submission at like plus 5,000. Yep. I'm tempted to roll that bet over because I think Volkov by submission round 3 is plus 5,000. Which, not that he's he's a jiu-jitsu guy, and you're not seeing a ton of submissions from him. But when you got a guy who's putty in your hands and gassed, I mean, what are you going to do with this big schlob of no cardio? You're just going to do anything to choke him out. Volkov by forearm choke round 3. Official prediction.
Sorry about that.
All right, Andrew Tate. We're moving on to the main event here. So, talking about one of your guys on the DraftKings side of things, you like Dvalishvili, the machine, taking on Petr Yan. Very fun matchup here, man, because I'm a big fan of both these guys, especially Merab. I really do like him a lot, and I'll be sort of rooting for him, even though I do have a moneyline bet on Petr Yan at minus 220 for a few units. Just think he's just better, especially in the striking. I think he's going to use that round to win a day to collect as he does, get a beat on Merab, show some pretty good pace and cardio, and maybe even we see some offensive wrestling from Petr Yan later as this fight goes. I would not be surprised, but maybe even that round like 4 or 5 decision prop on Yan, I could see him edging out maybe a finish late in this fight. It wouldn't be the wildest thing in the world, but both guys are young. Petr Yan actually the younger man by 2 years at 30 years old. And his record could look drastically different, Monk, if you give him that split decision against Sean O'Malley last time. Now we're looking at a 17-3 record. You give him one of those decisions against Aljamain Sterling. You pick one. Now he's at 18-2. You know what I mean? So his record could start looking a lot differently here. Merab, I just have trouble seeing him stalling this out the way he did against Aldo for 5 rounds, or even the majority of 5 rounds here. But what do you like about this one? Do you think that is this a spot where Merab, even in a loss, if he does lose this fight, could he still score very well for the price on DraftKings?
Oh, yeah. Merab's got the highest points per loss I've ever seen for any fighter. He scores more per loss than a lot of people do per win. For instance, like Assuncao on this card, Merab scores more per loss than Assuncao does per win. It's even more crazy when you look at Peter Yan's. You were talking about what his record could be. He's 2-3 in his last 5. He could be 4-1. That is a drastic change. Instead, he is on tilt right now. If he doesn't get this win, I don't know what's going to happen. But I'll be pulling for Merab. I'm a Merab fanboy. I just love the way he fights. He's got a beautiful red beard going on. You know what I'm saying? And I like those guys over at Longo, Sarah. You know, those New York guys. I enjoy them.
Yeah, the corner work is great, isn't it? When you got Longo, he sounds like a modern day like
fucking chest.
Yeah, he sounds like a modern day like Teddy Atlas, basically. You know,
yeah,
it's fun to watch.
I love catching him on the Anik and Florian show. He's great. But yeah, I love this fight for DraftKings. I'll probably do what they call stacking, which is I will play both guys in the same lineup. For instance, I think if Yan is going to win, he could score 90 to 100 points in a 5-round win, 5-round decision win, I should say. But in that same fight, Merab could put up 60, 70, 80 points in a loss because of his style of fight. All of a sudden, I've got a loser scoring 80 points. That's crazy, first of all, mixed with a guy that's going to score. I mean, I could score 170, 180 points in this fight. This is something I will think about doing. Usually I'm opposed to that kind of DraftKings strategy. Okay. I don't like to play two guys in the same fight for obvious reasons. Very, very rare. This fight, I would make an exception. Long story short, both guys score incredibly well.
Not to cut you off, but again, why is that? That would be rare because one guy can just beat the other and one doesn't score anything, right? So you just got basically like you didn't use a spot. Okay.
Like say if Merab comes out and wins over Yan and Yan doesn't get any takedowns going and just gets backpacked like he did against Aljo, he would have only scored, like say 30, 40 points. That's not going to do anything at his salary. But there are occasions where, like, I believe it was Yuri against Glover. That fight scored off the charts because Glover did many things, wrestling, grappling wise, and then Yuri gets the striking and then the 5-round finish. I mean, both guys ended up scoring 100+ points. It was crazy. So I'm not expecting that type of performance here, but I don't mind the little strategy play. And I'm just going to find a way to get to Merab I'm going to have 100% of this fight in DraftKings. I think the winner scores very well, very consistently. And the only thing I'll say, this is a little value play when we like to compare for DraftKings salary to score. And we do that with something called value, where we put it in this very easy equation. But basically you want guys that'll, like, if I say you're going to 10x your salary at 7,000, you're going to score 70 points basically, because your salary is 7.0K times 10 is 70, blah, blah, blah. The ideal score to land on the optimal lineup is 13x. You want 13 times. Merab only has to score 93 to get to 13 times. Peter Yan has to score 122 points to get to 13x. Merab has a much easier path of landing on the optimal lineup for that reason. So I love this fight, but I love the Merab side for sure. And I'm a Merab stan, so I'm biased against Yan here in this situation.
I liked him a lot, just his fight style and just like his pace and constant pressure. But after UFC 266 a year and a half ago, when he defeated Marlon Moraes after getting knocked silly in round 1, dead to rights, and then came in there and I think he put up like 70 some unanswered strikes between that and round 2. Amazing performance, and betting wise, that was a juicy night as well.
That might have been the top scoring DraftKings performance of the whole year. I'm not sure about that, but he put up an insane amount of points in that fight. 163. That's a lot.
Yeah, we got Begward TV. Thank you for joining us. Saying he also has Merab, and he doesn't know how people are still doubting Merab. Yan will stuff some takedowns, but the pressure will be nonstop. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And there's a little bit of reason to think that maybe in a 5-round fight it could be different, because in the 3-round fight for sure, I picked him over Jose Aldo, and I knew it was going to be like just that greasy. Whether you get a takedown or not, his pressure is so strong that he can just stop you from doing anything, and he's winning. Right? You're on the defense, he's on the offense. So he's just a freight train, and he can just flatten any and suppress all of your striking offense. But I feel differently about this one just because I rate Peter Yan's cardio kind of up there as well. Yeah. He's so efficient with his movements, and his strikes do have a lot of power behind them, as we've seen time and time again. And, Merab can be countered, can be hittable. But
That's
dude,
true.
if you're on the back foot the whole time, it might not matter. So I'll probably be playing Marab on the DraftKings side of things. I do have the money line bet on Peter Yan at -220 on the betting side of things. So yeah, Daz Files, always good to have you in here. We did it. We got through 14 fights very efficiently, Monk. It's easy to work with you, man. I can see why Lou keeps showing up week after week on the happy hour. No, I'm just kidding. I know it's you who has to tolerate his shenanigans every week, but you do a very good
he's bearable.
show.
He's all right.
He's all right. Yeah, but we got to do a three-way. I got to have like a fake happy hour where I just third wheel you guys and have you on here. So super fun talking to you, man. I did learn a lot, and I've got a lot of notes in front of me about the DraftKings side of things. A lot of almost like a glossary because now I know what some of these words you're talking about actually mean here. So, so thank you for explaining it to me like I'm 5 years old, which I basically am. And yeah, man, let the people know where they can find you. And it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Glad to be on here. Would love to come back anytime. Love talking DraftKings, whether it's the fundamentals or whether it's truly in-depth things, like a ton of stuff I didn't, I go deep, man. I'm like Christopher Lloyd here, Back to the Future. I'm the crazy scientist in the studio. So thanks for having me. You can find me on the MonkMMAtics channel. You can find me on the MMA Engine, DFS Army, etc. I got a couple other things dropping this week. But yeah, man, this is a great fight week in my opinion. And going into what some call a lackluster pay-per-view card, I'm super excited for it next week. So we got the fight right in the middle of two pay-per-view cards here. And I think it's a damn good fight week. We're still in Vegas, but we're not at the Apex. So we've got that going for us.
Yeah, I'm excited for next week because it's one of my favorite time slots. It's the London card, so it's next week.
Early
it's like,
start, right?
Like 12 p.m. prelims for us in the Midwest here at Central Time. So
perfect.
I like that quite a bit because you can still, just move your day's tasks on Saturday a little bit beforehand, and then still have your evening to not stay up until midnight. And
promise your significant other that you will get your chores done on Sunday or Saturday after the fights. All right, and then you can do it. You have to do the chores
exactly.
Though. Got to do
it. So, all right, everybody in the chat, all 24 of you people still with us. It's been a pleasure. I'll talk to you guys very soon. I'll have that best bets and props video out in the next day or two. And yeah, be sure to check out Monk's links in the description. Subscribe to my guy Monk. Subscribe to the MMA Engine. They all do great work. And I'll talk to you guys very, very soon. Cheers.